Hey guys, welcome to Mad Scientist BBQ. I'm Jeremy Yoder, and today I'm going to show you what I think is the most innovative grill on the market. You might be wondering, what is this new innovative grill? Well, it's the Birch Barrel. Many of you may know that I already have a lot of smokers and different cookers. I have a Franklin PK grill there. I have another PK grill. I have a Weber Smoky Mountain. I have a pellet smoker. I am looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 offset smokers right here. So I'm not in need of other cookers really. So when I got contacted by Birch Barrel, I kind of looked at the product, said, you know, I'm not interested, thank you, but if you'd like to talk about it, I can explain exactly why. And to their credit, they were the only company that's ever said, that's fine if you don't want it, but we'd still like to get your feedback on it. So I talked to them, and then I learned kind of the merits of what makes this grill special. So, got to give you some disclosures up front. I'm not sponsored by Birch Barrel. I don't have an affiliate link with Birch Barrel. They did send me some nice Yeti mugs, which are really sweet. I use those every single day. And Corey from Birch Barrel is a friend of mine. So everything I'm about to say is my honest opinion. Let's talk really briefly about how this thing works. Essentially, you have a grill that you can raise and lower. So you have this handle here, raise it up, and you get it as far away from the coals as you want to, or you can lower it down and put it right next to the coals. Also, you can actually raise and lower the coal pan too, so you have as much control over the distance between the heat and the food that you're cooking as possible. So even though it's still direct heat, you can go, 2 inches away, or you can go 24 inches away, whatever you want to do. So if we raise this up, we can take a look at the coal pan inside, and you see that there's a handle there, and you can raise it all the way up to the top if you really want to sear something hard, or you can even do something cowboy style and take the meat and put it directly on the coals to sear. So in there, we have coals and some oak wood that we're burning down. That's another really cool feature about the Birch Barrel, is that you can burn charcoal, you can burn wood, you can burn a combination of the two. So whatever kind of flavor that you want, you can get. So if you want just neutral heat, then you use like a really high quality premium lump charcoal. If you want some smoke flavor in there, then you can use a wood that you burn down into coal. So you're still providing smoke flavor, but you're not having a huge open inferno. Also, if you don't even want to use the cooking grate, you can take the lid off and just use this to burn a fire. And so if you have people over, people are standing around having drinks, they can be milling around the fire. It's just a way to bring people together. It's really nice. But what I'm really concerned about is cooking with it. And there's one thing about this that you might not expect that really sells me on it. Before we get into cooking, I need to tell you a quick story, and this is actually how I got hooked on cooking meat with fire. When I was in high school, I thought I was going to be the master of the grill, so I went and bought a $40 grill from Kroger. I mean, it was the cheapest, worst charcoal grill you could ever imagine, but I had this system. I don't know how I stumbled upon this, but basically I would take skin-on chicken, because I couldn't afford the boneless, skinless version, so I got the skin-on, bone-in. I would season it with Lowry seasoned salt and then baste it in butter throughout the cook. And the only issue I had was I would constantly be fighting flare-ups. But the kind of flavor I got was something that's kind of indescribable. It's this sweet, smoky, wonderful, juicy awesomeness. And the reason behind it is fat smoke. If you don't know what fat smoke is, it's really simple. It's the fat from the stuff you're cooking, the meat that is, dripping into the coals and then burning and providing that aroma. Like if you've ever smelled burgers being cooked, you know that smell. It's unique. It doesn't smell like wood smoke. So there's wood smoke, which I obviously love, and then fat smoke is like a different tool in your toolbox to flavor the meat that you're cooking. With this thing, you can get both. Because it can burn wood and it allows fat from the meat you're cooking to drip into the coals, you have the combination of both flavors. We're gonna be cooking some bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs today, and the way that I do it is reminiscent of how I used to do it in high school, the whole reason I started liking to do barbecue in the first place. Yesterday, I did the most glorious part of any pitmaster job, a bunch of cleaning. I was in here getting dirty, pressure washing these things out, covering them in oil, burning fires in them. But one thing I was doing the entire time was listening with headphones, because that's what I do. When I leave the house, I always have a few things. I have my wallet, I have my keys, I have my phone, and I have my headphones. I used to listen to podcasts almost exclusively. But that brings me to today's sponsor, Audible. Audible has so much more available than just podcasts, though they have thousands of those as well. So whether you're interested in mystery novels or thrillers, or like me, nonfiction, Audible has you covered. There are thousands and thousands of titles to choose from. You could be listening to Audible from now until you die and never run out of material. It's that big. Right now, I'm listening to a book called The Carnivore Code by Paul Saladino. Essentially, it's eating only a carnivore diet, which is fascinating to me. So this is something that my brother has done for a while, and I was like, wait a second, is this legit? And all I have to do is open the Audible app, find a book about it, and I can learn about it. So now when he and I talk, I can actually understand what he's talking about. It's a great resource and it's so much fun. So for me, whether I'm cleaning smokers, whether I'm on the treadmill, whether I'm driving in the car, whether I'm just at home and I want something to do, all of those situations allow me to use Audible and have a great time doing it. So if you're interested in Audible, visit audible.com/MadScientistBBQ or text Mad Scientist BBQ to 500 500. That's audible.com/MadScientistBBQ to learn more. Here we have some regular bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs. It's one of the cheapest cuts of meat you can find, and it's one of my favorite things to make for dinner. To do this, first, we twist the lid on the birch barrel so we can move the lid off and leave the grate exactly where it is. So twist this, and then we lift it up. So now we have our grate exposed, and I'm gonna go skin side down because I want the skin exposed to that direct heat to crisp it up. All that these were seasoned with were some Lowry's and some black pepper. Couldn't be much easier. Before we put these chicken thighs on, there was absolutely no smoke coming out of this. It was just pure, clean heat. And now you're starting to see whiffs of smoke coming out because that fat starts to liquefy, then drips into the coals and provides just incredible aroma. Now, unlike just a regular Santa Maria grill, with this, you have a lid that can trap in heat and trap in smoke flavor. Also, it speeds the cook time. So that, in combination with being able to lift it up, if you have a flare up, and you see little bits of flame as the fat trickles down in there. And so if you have a big flare up, no big deal. Drop the lid on there, lift up the whole grate, and separate it from the coals. Right now, I'm happy with the temperature that it's at, but I'm gonna close the lid on it because I want to trap heat on the dome side to make sure that these things cook evenly. Okay, a couple important features you need to know about so you can operate this thing properly. First of all, it's got a thermometer in the dome, so you know about what temperature you're cooking at near the grate. So if it's getting a little too hot, you can lift that whole contraption off. So let me show you exactly what that looks like now. So if I want to lift it off, just grab this, and everything comes up. So the chicken, the grate, the lid, everything comes up so you can separate it as much as possible. Also on here, there's a vent, so you can determine how much airflow you want to come out. And then on the side here, there are vents, so you can determine how much airflow goes in. And here's one of the coolest parts about the whole thing, especially if you have a kid. This is cool enough to touch. So despite, it being pretty darn hot in there, my hand is totally fine. Still here, still here, still here, still here. The outside is warm, but it's not gonna scald you, okay? So all those things are cool. Also, you see those little drips of fat going down? That's an appropriate amount. Now, if you have too much fat, you start to get black smoke. I don't really like that smoke flavor. But just a steady stream of fat smoke is incredible. I mean, the taste is something you can't reproduce by any other means. Just like there's no replacement for a real fire, there's no replacement that I found for fat smoke. Now, with this lid lifted up, there's not really a lot of smoke anymore. And if I look at the temperature, we're only at about 200 degrees. So I'm gonna lower it back down and find that perfect sweet spot. Usually for me, I found that it's somewhere right around here. But that totally depends on how big your fire is. So here, there's gonna be more heat. There's gonna be more heat retained by that dome. And so you're gonna be rendering fat both inside the chicken and on that skin. And as it drips down, you're creating more and more flavor. But you don't wanna go too much and get that black smoke because then it's kind of an off burnt taste. So when you dial it in just right, it's magical. I don't know how it's showing up on camera, but right here for me, this is about the level of smoke that I want. I can adjust it up a couple inches or down, but something like this. And it's just this amazing aroma. I bet my neighbor Doug is gonna come over and say, hey, what are you cooking today? But anyway, this is kind of the sweet spot for me. So right now we are at 285 degrees or so. So we're gonna let this thing rock and roll, and we'll check back in with you in a couple minutes. We'll put this down, take a quick peek, and then we'll lift it back up. Now let's talk about some of the pros and cons to this grill. Pros, tremendous flavor. Another big pro is it is a ton of fun. So if you like to play with fire, this is your ticket right here. Because usually with grills, you can adjust a vent here or there, but right there, it's like, oh, there's a fire going on right there. And for me, you know, as a little boy, I was kind of a pyromaniac. This is so much fun. Now, it's not the most convenient. That's the con. If you want convenience, you could do a pellet smoker, you could do a gas grill, but this takes about the same amount of work as a Weber kettle or something of that sort. So really, it's no more work than a Weber kettle, but it can do the stuff that a Weber kettle can do. Plus, it can do a heck of a lot more. It can do Santa Maria style. You can actually smoke a brisket on this thing, so stay tuned for that video. Another pro is that it's multifunctional. So you can use it for direct heat grilling. You can use it for extended separation direct heat cooking, so kind of like what Snow's Barbecue does with pork steaks, or kind of Santa Maria style, but it's got this dome to trap heat. Then you can do smoking. So you can do wood smoke in there. You can do a combination of wood and fat smoke. So say you have something like a prime rib. Now that, to me, would be something that would be really great over the top of this. And I think they're coming out with some hooks and stuff that you can use, but all that's going to be in future videos because I'm a huge fan of this thing. Another con might be that it's kind of a little unwieldy, but really you can break this thing down. You can actually take the barrel off. You can take the lid off if you just want to use it as kind of an outdoor stove. But for me, the pros vastly outweigh the cons. Now, it's not the most convenient. It's not crazy super portable, but for me, it is my favorite way to cook right now. Right now, I'm looking at a Fat Stack 120, a Fat Stack 80. I don't think there are very many of those out there. Then over here, I have a Franklin. I have a 500-gallon offset. I have a 1,000-gallon offset. I have a Workhorse 1975 that I have not touched yet because I wanted to come out here and cook on this thing again. So that's how much I enjoy this thing. Like I said, it's not, you know, some kind of deal where if I sell a bunch of these, I make a lot of money. It's nothing like that. I'm a genuine fan of this product and the company and the people who work there. And I want to share with you guys something that's really cool that could alter how you're doing your cooking in the backyard. So you got your direct heat, you got your indirect cookers like the offset smokers, but this is something that's totally unique and different from all of those. A hybrid between maybe a Weber kettle and a Santa Maria grill and an outdoor stove, all wrapped into one. Super, super cool. Now, let's check on this chicken. Looks like it still needs a fair amount more time, but I'm getting a lot of that super aromatic fat smoke. So I'm gonna lift this back up off the grate, and I'm gonna go get a piece of wood and add a little bit more wood smoke to it. All right, got a chunk of hickory wood. I'm gonna toss it in. Fun fact, if you're a fan of cooking in a Dutch oven, what you can do is you can actually take your Dutch oven, put it in, put your coal pan on top of it, and it will cook whatever's inside. So you can be making a couple different things at once. You might be cooking some steaks on the top, and in the bottom you got some potatoes and mushrooms and onions or whatever you want to put in that, and they'll all cook. It's super cool, a lot of fun. So cooking with this isn't about the easiest thing in the whole world, but it's the most fun. It's just a blast. All right, starting to get some of that wood smoke. So at this point, we're just going to take it to the right doneness. For these, I like to go to 185, 190, because I think it really liquefies the fat inside. And at that point, the skin will be crisp. So we're gonna check back in with you in a couple minutes, but really, this is kind of a holding pattern. Because you can separate this from the coals, you don't have to worry about some crazy flare up burning everything. So once you get it kind of dialed in, you've done it once or twice, you can just set it, walk away. Now, another important thing, with the wood smoke, you can put in a chunk of wood like that and allow it to burn in open flame. So you're producing those really flavorful compounds. It's not gonna taste like dirty smoke. Now, you could put it in there, close everything down and make it smolder, but why do that if you don't have to? Why not get the best tasting compounds by letting it burn in open flame, and you can control the temperature with just your right hand. Cooler, hotter, and then when you find out where it's just right, you can stick there. So the process that we're gonna do is we're looking for 250-ish on the chicken to bring it up to temperature. And then at the very end, I'm gonna drop this thing down and try to crisp up that skin as much as possible without burning. Another important thing to notice is if you want to, you can dial this thing all the way up and get a look at what you're doing. So you're like, well, that's starting to look really tasty. Looks like the skin is starting to crisp. See the bubbling fat on there? That's looking really, really nice. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop this down, flip it over, and see if it needs any more crisping on that side or if we're good. There we go. It's looking smoky and good. So, oh. That's kind of how I want it. You see here where this fat bubbled? And listen to this. I'm going to get it close to the mic. That's what we're looking for. So I'm going to flip these over and get them finished off. Heat gloves are a big help. Oh. Well, that little guy, wouldn't worry about that little guy. Whew. That is toasty. Look at all that juice. Whew. All right. Now let's tempt these guys. Ooh, that skin is crisp. Yeah, so these guys are already safe. We just want to get them a little bit warmer to liquefy all the fat inside. Oh yeah, these are all at about 170. So I'm gonna go a little bit further, lift this back up, add a little bit more wood smoke, and we're ready to rock and roll. Now, when I said that this is not the most convenient way to cook, it's not. I mean, turning a pellet smoker to a setting and walking away is probably the easiest way to cook anything. But what you didn't see is that while this has been cooking, I went inside, I talked to my wife, I played with my daughter, you know, I looked at the TV for a minute, and I ate some salmon, came back out, and I'm like, oh, let me check on these guys. And everything's fine. So because you have that separation, it allows you to kind of walk away and not have the same risk that you would on a grill where the meat's only separated from the charcoal by about this much. Now that difference is not big enough to really insulate you from a major catastrophe. So if you want something that can do what a drum can do, or like a kettle can do, or be an outdoor fire pit, or you know, any number of these things, plus it gives you that fat smoke without the danger of everything going nuclear and burning, you know, it's just really fun. And as a pyromaniac, it's a lot of fun. After using this thing for a while, it's no mystery to me at this point why so many of the top barbecue competition teams are winning with drum smokers. It's because they get a combination of that wood smoke and fat smoke. Now just imagine your ancestors, if they're cooking meat over fire, what are they getting? Well, of course, wood smoke, but also the fat is going to be dripping into the coals and providing that aroma and that flavor on the outside of the meat that everybody just naturally likes. But these guys are done. Let's get them off. These are gonna be tasty. Now I'm just going to close this thing up, let it get hot, and clean off that grate. Make sure all the stuff that's left on it carbonizes. So, down there, maybe more. Lock it in. Now it's important for you guys to know that this thing has been outside. So uncovered in the rain, in the snow, in the sleet, in ice, in the sun. And the only real measures of wear, I mean, it gets dirty, of course, because I've used it. Also, I built just some raging fires in here just to see what would happen. Because, well, I thought if people are going to use this as an outdoor stove, let's push it to the limits. And I filled it up completely with wood and just had like a raging inferno. And I thought, well, something's surely going to break, but it didn't. Anyway, my point is, the only place that I see any evidence of that is these little screws. Where it connects to the lid here, to this kind of little tripod thing, those screws have some rust on them. Other than that, I mean, this thing doesn't show any real signs of wear, other than some dirt. Okay, here we have our finished chicken thigh. It has that sweet aroma of fat smoke. And then, if you're wondering if you can get crispy skin on this thing, yes, absolutely. If you can't get crispy skin on your chicken with the birch barrel, you're never going to get crispy skin on any smoker or grill that you're ever going to use. So, just to put it in perspective here, we did the thing earlier where I kind of scrape it next to the mic, but here, let me show you how crispy the skin is. I'm just going to tear it. Ready? Listen. You hear that? I'll do it again. Okay, that is crispy skin. That's really good skin. It's almost like a bacon-y type. Oh, it's so good. All right, well, without any further ado, I'm gonna give this a try. Oh, no, further ado. Okay, so here you see where the smoke actually puts on the flavor there. So you have the meat underneath, juicy, awesome, great. Have the crispy skin that just breaks. I mean, that's pretty wonderful. It's like a chicken chicharron. It's really good. And then we see the smoke here. So that coloration from the smoke. Everything you could want in a chicken thigh. All right, I'm gonna take a bite of this before it's too late. Man, that's good. All right, moment of truth. Let's talk about this bite. You see exactly where I took a bite. Bit straight through the skin, crispy, awesome. And then we want to talk about juiciness. You know, there's just a lot of juice in there. I could squeeze out more, but I'm going to eat the rest of this chicken thigh. But you can see that everybody's going to be juicy and packed with flavor. So you have the crunch on the outside, soft meat on the inside, full of juice, smoke from both the fat and the wood deposited all over the outside. So you have texture, you have multiple layers of flavor. This is really like my go-to way to cook chicken. So if you're looking to cook chicken with crispy skin, this is a great way, but it's not just a chicken cooker. I mean, there are lots of chicken cookers out there. I'm gonna be using this in a lot of future videos. This is just one application of it. You can remove it from the heat further, do slow, heavier wood smoke, but for me, this is the perfect way to do the chicken thighs in the birch barrel, and it kind of highlights all of its strengths. All right, gotta go in for another bite. That skin though, man. All right, you guys get the point. This is a really cool grill. I think it's really innovative and just awesome to use. I love using it. I'm going to put a link for it in the description if you guys want to check it out. The Barbecue HQ sells it, so I'll include a link to their website. They can ship across the country. I think you guys are going to be really surprised at the kind of food you can make with it. I mean, even desserts. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Mad Scientist BBQ. And one other important note, if you want to win a birch barrel or one of these fat stack smokers or the Franklin smoker, you can subscribe on Patreon because I'm giving away smokers, thermopens, leather aprons, all kinds of stuff. So go over there and check it out. And the best part about Patreon is the Discord. It's a private chat. You could get on there and say, hey, has anybody ever cooked wildebeest? And I almost guarantee somebody's going to be like, hey, actually, as a matter of fact, I have. I live in South Africa. I cook wildebeest every Thursday. It's just really cool. Hundreds of years of cumulative experience. Check it out. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.